For the past few years, um, I've written one poem a day, um, and posted it onto a little a little blog spot blog. Um, and this week I got to the 1000th post, and for a while I think I decided that once I got to 1,000, I would stop with this kind of daily habit. So it feels very monumental on my end. It never gets easier to write. Um, and I think you just got to understand that when you're working on something like this and you feel so lost and everything is so difficult and unclear and you're so anxious and disappointed and frustrated and insert every negative emotional feeling, it's like that's the wall you're up against that you need to push forward a little bit in order to grow. And it's really hard to tell yourself that when you're writing and you're so confused, that's exactly where you want to be, because it means that you're sorting through a new territory. So you want to keep pushing yourself into those directions, but it's excruciating in this way that if you've put in honest time to try to write, that's how it feels. So it almost seems like after all these years of trying to figure out how this thing's done, and unsuccessfully, my success as a writer has always been not not great. Like, it just isn't. And but at the end of the day, it just seems like the the reward has to be that difficulty, and knowing that there's nothing, so few things out in the world that seem to have the ability to reach toward meaning like that does, and truth, and just you know really connecting to something outside of sifting through the bullshit, um, whatever that means. Being able to know yourself without to know yourself in a real way, without coming out as a complete narcissist. That paradigm is really important and difficult to balance. Yeah, and that's what writing is. Okay, let's read the last one. This is 1,000 poems. 1,000 poems. August 21st, 2020 to November 7th, 2023. Each dedicated to my wife, Miriam, who read what I wrote every day and showed me that perhaps I'm not alone after all. I think a lot of, as the last poem kind of tries to get at, is like, it's very, some of us feel very alone in the world. and maybe that's why we write. Um, and that's been a big theme in my life since I was a young kid. I always wrote for that reason, I think. Um, you know, even at whatever grade I was in, 2, 3, really young, just scribbling down little my thoughts and little stories and writing on the computer, printing out. I used to, you know, go on my computer. This was like a DOS computer, and write out a little story, and then I'd print it and it had like the perforated kind of edges, and then I'd peel those off and I'd take what I'd written and I'd put it in my pocket, and I would go to school the next day with it in my pocket as like some kind of like protection or something. And I guess I never really stopped doing that, and here we are. And as I wrote all these poems in the last few years, I still felt very much alone, but as I reflected back on them and the experience of it, it became very clear to me that I don't know if a day went by where I know that Miriam didn't read what I'd written, acknowledge it in some way, just throughout the day, just, oh, like that's, you wrote that, or little, like, nothing major, but she acknowledged it, she read it, and she heard it, and she acknowledged it, and that means a lot. Hard to explain.